As a kid, all a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from everybody. Life lesson learned, I better learn from this bitch, nobody. She pushed me around, she didn't give no motherfucks about it. She broke my heart 3 times, but I ain't getting...
The Carolina Panthers are going to be at home taking on the Chicago Bears. Now, the Carolina Panthers are heading into this game with a 3-game win streak. They just recently defeated the Atlanta Falcons last week 23-16, which ended up making Atlanta fire Dan Quinn. And for the Chicago Bears, you just defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-19 on Thursday Night Football. Now, both of these two teams are evenly matched in this game. If you were to go on the street and ask a random bystander or a random NFL fan who he thinks is the better team, the Chicago Bears or the Carolina Panthers, he most likely will tell you he doesn't know. Now, of course, you Panthers fans and you Bears fans are going to go down the comment section. You're going to say, oh, we're the better team. Okay, obviously you guys are going to say that because if you're a fan of your team, of course you're going to say that your team is better than the other team's team. So, I mean, that's just common sense. But, I mean, if you are a random bystander on the street and somebody approaches you and says, hey, who do you think wins this game? The Panthers or the Chicago Bears? You pretty much would say you don't really know. They're really evenly matched. And this is reflected in the spread in this game because Carolina is only favored to win this game by 1.5 points. So Vegas, I think that Vegas agrees with me as well because, I mean, the Carolina Panthers are only a 1.5 favorite. So, I mean, when you have two teams that are evenly matched, right, it's easy to assess what both of these teams' strengths are. I mean, Chicago is pretty weak on offense. Even with the quarterback change, their offense still hasn't really been all that impressive. But their defense is a big reason why they're winning games. Now, the Carolina Panthers, on the other hand, your defense has played fairly well over the last 3 games. But your offense has also played incredibly well so far this season. Now, for Carolina's defense, you're going to be without Kawan Short, who is out for the rest of the season with a shoulder injury. And we don't know if Gross Matos and Brian Burns are going to suit up and play in this game because they are both listed as questionable. Okay? So for me, the matchup that I'm going to be watching, that a lot of people who are going to be previewing this game are going to be talking about, it's going to be defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, Chuck Pagano, against offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, Joe Brady. And the reason why this matchup is going to be so pivotal is because this Carolina Panthers offense has been really efficient. It's been really methodical. They move the ball down the field well. And for this Chicago Bears defense, it has been one of the best defenses in the NFL. Chuck Pagano has called a pretty good defense so far. So, I mean, I want to see which one of these coordinators is going to win this matchup in this head-to-head battle because a lot of people, when you have equally matched teams, it comes down to coaching and it comes down to the coordinators. It comes down to the guys who you have in your staff. It's going to come down to your offensive coordinators, your defensive coordinators. So, I mean, the matchup to watch isn't really going to be the players that's on the field. Is going to be these two coordinators, Chuck Pagano versus Joe Brady. Which coordinator is going to be able to come up with the best game plan to get their team to victory? Now, for the Carolina Panthers, I mean, this offense matches up equally with the Chicago Bears defense because everything that Carolina is good at, the Chicago Bears defense is good at stopping. Like, for example, the Carolina Panthers are 5th in the NFL in yards per play. The Chicago Bears happen to be 9th in the NFL in yards per play allowed with 5.2. So, I mean, like I said, what Carolina's offense does well, the Chicago Bears defense does well at stopping it. So, I mean, it is going to be a chess match between these two coordinators. Remember, the NFL is more than just guys going around knocking each other out and things like that, butting heads with helmets and pads on. This is also a mental game as well. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, coaching is going to be a big factor in determining who wins this game. And to be quite frankly with you, I'm not really expecting a high-scoring affair in this game. I think the first team that can hit 20 points will most likely end up winning this game because, I mean, I think we could really see a defensive battle in this game, maybe some way, somehow, because of how equally matched this Carolina Panthers offense is against the Chicago Bears defense. But, I mean, you also got to look at it like this. Chicago's offense hasn't really been great, And the Carolina Panthers defense, although they have performed fairly well over the last 3 games, we don't really know how they're going to perform with potentially missing 2 of their best players not playing, with Brian Burns and Gross Matu. So, I mean, this is going to be a really intriguing matchup. Now, for the Chicago Bears, can you convert on 3rd down? And can the Carolina Panthers get you off the field on 3rd down? Because the Chicago Bears are 29th in the NFL and 3rd down conversion percentage. They're only converting on 3rd down 33% of the time. That's one of the worst in the NFL. But you happen to be going against one of the worst 3rd down defenses in the NFL, and the Carolina Panthers, who are 29th in the NFL and 3rd down conversions allowed. They're allowing teams to convert a good amount of time, which is 29th in the NFL. So, I mean, can the Carolina Panthers get off the field on 3rd down and get the ball back to the offense? Or can the Chicago Bears be able to convert on 3rd down and keep drives alive? So, I mean, you have a Carolina Panthers defense that happens to be one of the worst in the NFL and getting off the field on 3rd down. You have a Chicago Bears offense that happens to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL and being able to keep the drive alive on 3rd down. So, who is going to win that matchup? Now, I'm not done with 3rd down. I mean, this Carolina Panthers offense, their 3rd down offense is going to be going against the Chicago Bears 3rd down defense, which these are 2 of the best at their respective spots. Carolina is 6th in the NFL on offense when it comes to converting on 3rd down. They convert on 3rd down 49% of the time offensively. But this Chicago Bears defense, they have the 2nd best 3rd down defense in the NFL. Teams only convert on 3rd down on Chicago Bears 33% of the time. The next question is going to be, who will be able to score in the red zone? Because neither one of these teams' offenses are really all that great in scoring when they get inside of the 20. And I'm not talking about field goals. I'm talking about getting 6 points on the board, a touchdown. Carolina's red zone offense is 27th in the NFL. Chicago's red zone offense is not far away from them. So, I mean, the Chicago Bears, they do have the upper hand in this department because, I mean, even though their offense isn't great in the red zone, their defense happens to be the best red zone defense in the NFL. So how is Carolina going to be able to punch the ball in when they get inside the 20? And remind you, this is a methodical offense that Carolina runs. So, I mean, when you get inside the 20, you're facing a really good Chicago Bears defense. You're going to have to find a way to punch this thing in. And another thing for this Chicago Bears defense is going to be, can they take away the big plays that happens when these wide receivers get the ball in their hands? Because I think that the Carolina Panthers have the best or the 2nd best wide receiver position when it comes to being able to get yak yardage. If you guys don't know what yak is, it's an abbreviation for yards after catch. They have a lot of wide receivers on this team that can take a 5-yard pass or a 5-yard dump off from Teddy Bridgewater and take it to the house for a touchdown, such as Robbie Anderson, who happens to be top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards. You also have Curtis Samuel, who we don't know if he's going to play in this game. I think he was listed as questionable. You also have DJ Moore. So, I mean, you have a plethora of wide receivers for Carolina that can take a dump off or a 5-yard slant or whatever and take it to the house. So if you're Chicago, you're so good in not allowing teams to really have a lot of those big chunk plays because you're only allowing 5.2 yards per play, which happens to be one of the best in the NFL. So, I mean, this is going to be a really interesting matchup because, like I said earlier, these 2 teams, what the Carolina Panthers offense does great, Chicago is great at stopping on the defense side of football. So, I mean, like I said, it's all going to come down to the coordinators. Which coordinator is going to have the better game plan to put their team in the spot to succeed? Because, listen, although the Chicago Bears are facing a lackluster defense with Carolina, I don't really think I trust Matt Nagy because I've been seeing a lot of Bears fans on Twitter, and you guys know who you are, who have been complaining about Matt Nagy's lackluster play calling so far. So, I mean, listen, this is going to be a really tough game to predict. I'm still going to have to side with the Chicago Bears because I think that despite the fact that their offense isn't great, their defense is going to be able to stop this Carolina Panthers offense. And I think that with this defense being able to stop Carolina's offense, they're going to put this Chicago Bears offense in good spots to succeed. And the big part of who's going to win this game is going to be who is going to be able to win this field position battle. So, I mean, this is a toss-up game. You can really flip a coin to the side, but I got to go with Chicago, man. I think their defense is going to be the reason why they win this game. And you got Carolina's defense, who, although they have played better than what they started out the season playing, I mean, I still don't really have a lot of confidence in. So, I mean, although Chicago's offense isn't great, I think that they could take advantage of a Carolina Panthers young defense. So, I'm going to give Chicago the victory here. I think Chicago wins this game 20-17 is my final score prediction in this game. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears with the victory.